Okay, hi Rex.
Hello,
Back to Finland. Here we are at Zen Center. You came here to give a workshop about Shiatsu. So I'm interested to know, how did you first come across the Shiatsu and not other things? So what was the beginning for you in Shiatsu?
The beginning was in Ireland. I was there in Ireland and I was doing physiotherapy and massage, and there was this Irish guy but who lived in America, and he said, I have a special massage to give you. And I said, what's that? She says, it's Shiatsu. And in that period I was starting to get involved with macrobiotics, and he came and he gave me a Shiatsu, and this was in Dublin. This would have been in 1973. So this was the first time that I got exposed to Shiatsu.
We never met in London, didn't we? Because I was there 82 studying studies. I went with John there.
Sure.
Yeah. So that started a little bit earlier. Yeah. But they came to Ireland. They came to different places with you.
Yeah, I mean, and that has always been fun, and I've just explored so many areas of my work, and I explored it out of the clientele that I got. And they had a period, like when you came to Ireland, where I was doing a lot of things around the vestibular system. This was because I had lots of clients who had learning disorders.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and it keeps varying with, who is coming to me and what I see. So I always like to make my work relevant,
sure.
As regards what's happening, rather than basing it in Japan or China thousands of years ago, although that's where it comes from.
Yeah. So how would you define your style of Shiatsu at the moment? Because I was reading your latest book about the time astrology, and I understood, and when I been living with you many moments, you draw a lot from your Trinidadian background, and also music and shamanism. And so how do you define your style of Shiatsu, or is it a Shiatsu? What is it? Yeah.
My Shiatsu is fundamentally based on the 5 elements. This is like the core aspect about looking at the experience that people have. And yes, I'm a technician in the sense of there are lots of techniques that I use. But at the core of my work is a listening. I listen to what the person is saying, and also what they are not saying when a client or a student I'm working with. And this is what then takes me to what I will then do. Yes, there are certain basic techniques that I work with, but I'm always in the moment with who I'm working with, because I always think it has to be relevant for that person, rather than I just have a general protocol for everybody. Yes, I have techniques that I do with most people, but it's always like, what's in the moment? Who is this that I'm working with?
Yeah. But you like to call it Shiatsu.
Yeah, I mean, because it's based on that. I can't dishonor it by calling it Rexism or anything like that. I mean, it is Shiatsu because that's where it comes from. My approach to it may not be stereotype in the sense, well, it's this, that, and you only deal with it that way. I allow it to unfold however it unfolds.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But you also have a background in osteopathy, and you apply it in your Shiatsu.
Yeah. So I use, because in osteopathy, I studied that and I qualified as an osteopath. The statement that is used is structure governs function. So I always look at how the person's body is related to gravity, i.e. checking the leg length, checking the arm length, checking to see what's going on, especially in the hip area, and making those adjustments before I begin. This is like, this is so for everyone.
Yeah.
This is basic, because it's like our basic relationship is with the force of gravity.
So you feel like you are kind of a researcher in the field, that you kind of because I see you as a pioneer. I see myself also in a way, because I'm working in Finland and doing the same stuff, but on a bigger scale. Always when you meet, you are researching something new, okay? And you're applying it. So how do you see yourself? Are you a researcher?
Yeah, I am, because I'm always in the question. I'm always like, what's going on right now, or what's happening with this client, or what's happening with where I'm living, and how this is impacting upon people. So, like, take for the last 10 years, what I see, it's more and more issues with people with their nervous system and emotional and mental issues. So now, more or less, 95% of the time, I always start with the legs or the feet, because they're not feeling their feet anymore. They're always on the cell phone, or they're right here. So, like, nothing is happening down here, and like they've forgotten that part of their body. So I always tend to go there, whereas 20 years ago this would not be the case. So, so when you say about a researcher, yes, but more in the sense of being in the moment with what's so with the person. And I'm seeing lots of situations now with children whereby it's a whole new approach, because the basic thing about touch, a lot of them don't have that experience. It's all plastic. Sure. So this is a different world we're in. So if we're just coming from the basic approaches, we may miss the needs that they have. It's like, what is the need that this client or this patient has?
Rex, how were the early years of SHIATSU, the alternative movement, when you started, when the field was still quite empty and opened? How do you feel the first years, and if like the development towards 2015?
I mean, the first years you just had to go with where people were hosting shiatsu, and I worked in all types of environments. I worked in basements. I remember a time in Bristol, some students who were at the East-West Center, they said, we have a group, can you come down? So I worked in basements. I worked in nightclubs as regards things. I worked in all kinds of circumstances, because you had to go with where people were, wanted to have you. Yeah. And this was wonderful, because in a way, not being arrogant about that, because I think I can come into any situation or circumstance out of the different situations and circumstances I had to work in. And people were more curious about what this is about and wanted to be more involved, and it had a sort of an innocence about it and an exploration. So this was how it was at the beginning. Plus I had a wonderful opportunity, because I was doing Aikido, and a lot of my shiatsu came from the influence of my Aikido teacher, which was about the breathing and relaxed shoulders. He was allergic to shoulders being up tight like this. I mean, totally allergic. He would go, yes, he would hit you. So this thing about relaxed shoulders was very important, and this is a principle in my work with how I approach it, and the breath, the breathing. How it's changed in the last 10 years, and I think maybe you have seen this, Rebecca. I mean, people come into shiatsu because they want a piece of paper. And if you don't have a piece of paper to give at the end, oftentimes they're not interested in doing the class. Yeah. Whereas in the early days, this was neither here nor there, and it had a sort of passion and just joy as regards exploring things. So I don't know, how that was for you at the beginning.
I don't have no documents for my studies.
Okay. So that was a difference.
Yeah. Finnish Shiatsu Society asked you to come to Finland to give a couple of courses, I think 3.
Yes, that's right.
And could you tell me a little bit about the structure of the courses and what you're going to teach here?
Sure. The structure of the course is based upon the Meridian system. So I'm teaching about the Meridian systems, and the foundation of that is how I am teaching it, is coming out of the 5 elements. So like this morning we covered that. I went into a lot of details about the 5 elements and the principles, especially in the mental and emotional aspect as regards what elements and organs relate to what feelings, and how the whole influence of the media has as regards people's views about themselves, and how at times this can sabotage them because they have a certain thing, well, I'm not like that, I need to do that. And the whole plastic experience now that has become so prevalent with many people. So anyway, I spoke about that, and in doing the class, I also am with the student or students, because as I show certain techniques, certain experiences come up for some of the participants in the program. And sometimes these experiences are different than what would be happening for the most people in the class. So then I would engage with that person as regards what's going on for them. And we had that this morning with one of the ladies here with some issues with different things from a family situation. And within that conversation, which I had, which the class was part of, because they heard how I operated with it. In other words, it was like I was in a clinical situation with this client, although she was a student in the class. Something shifted for her. She said, I just feel better. What did you do? And I didn't do anything except started to make her aware of some of the issues coming from the 5 elements that was going on for her in her life. I feel quite touched that the Finnish Society has invited me to start, as it have begun, to ask me to do this here in Finland. This is very emotional for me to feel. I feel very honored about this. And I've mentioned to them, some of the members in the society, I think there are 2 key aspects that Finnish society has as regards the shiatsu that could be incorporated around shiatsu. That is Sibelius's music. I really feel that music and how his music happened with the atmosphere and whatever, and how it came to him, I think the listening of that makes a big difference. And my observation is, like most people who are skillful with their shiatsu, very good at it, music is a big part of their life. I've seen this kind of all over. I mean, so I just think to bring this in, which is starting to widen the whole aspect about shiatsu. So that is one. And the other aspect is this wonderful epic story here in Finland, the Kalevala, which is about healing. And I think for the Shiatsu Society to link, to connect and open up to this aspect and have the students explore this as regards a cultural aspect about healing, because the Kalevala has so much healing things mentioned to it, and also not pulling away from the shamanic aspect of Finnish culture. I think this is potent. And no other country in Europe has this kind of, okay, they have, of course, musicians in Germany, Beethoven, Mozart, Bach, I'm not that, but the kind of, the 2 aspects is thing, and I think it could be a beautiful situation to start opening this up and connecting people with part of their cultural background. I'm not from here, but I'm so excited that this is something that could be, that the society could engage in, so I just put it out. Of course, it's none of my business. I mean, there's people here in Finland have to decide it. But, so yeah, this is there for me.
So the first part is now, we are 21st of March, the spring equinox. So when does the next...
The next weekend is in May, the beginning of May. So that is when I teach 2 other aspects in the course. Like this weekend I'm dealing with the earth elements and the water element. Okay, so I'm dealing with that in this. And then in May I deal with the fire element, and I also touch upon the wood element. And then in August, it's mid-August, I come back, and then I deal with the lungs and sort of connect to different things, sort of tie it up, so like that.
So I I think first we met in early 90 in Denmark. Was it?
I think I met you in. Did I not meet you in London?
I'm not sure.
I think so. The connection wasn't there. It was just more hi. It wasn't like
Okay.
Yucca knew Rex. But I think I was around when you were attending classes.
Yeah.
But the connection happened in Denmark.
Because I remember through Stig Penning, I heard about you giving a class in Denmark.
Right.
So then
Sure.
That was early 90s.
Yep.
Yeah. And after that, we've been cooperating quite a lot. You know, you came to Finland many times. We arranged, organized workshops, and even some camp we had once. And so my question is, we've been discussing it many times, but what brought you back every time? Many times. I don't know how many times you've been in Finland, but what is it that brings you back here? It's like your third home, or?
Yeah, I have no logical answer for that. The connections here are deep. It's very emotional. Over this is more in the last 10 years, to talk about Sibelius, it brings a kind of wave of energy in me and within me to just talk about him. At times in classes, sometimes tears happen. So this has no logic to it. I mean, there's my connection and friendship with you, Yucca, in the sense, which was a strange experience. With, you know, I posted you a box of incense, and the next day your father passed on, which had no logic to it in the sense of I knew nothing about you. So there are connections that I have no, it's like I'm in a current in a river, and the river has certain tribulates, and it takes me here. So it's not a conscious decision. The only conscious decision that I ever made was in 1952 when I was 7 years of age.
Yeah.
And my father was listening to the Olympics.
Yeah.
And because he had some athletes from Trinidad who was competing here. And I asked my father, I said, Dad, I mean, so where is this coming from? Because he would get up some strange times of day because it was a different time for him. And he said, it's in Helsinki, Finland. And I told my father at 7 years of age, Dad, one day I'll go there. I will go to Finland. But I never remembered, I mean, I remembered it, but it never was a dominant thought in my mind. But I remember telling him that. And I guess, whatever, that was a pebble in the pond, and I keep coming. So I don't have any other...
What about the nature in Finland?
For sure, the nature, the lakes, the forest, and then also on the surface, when you meet people from Finland, none of this comes up, but when you meet them in a smoke sauna, they speak from their heart, they speak from their soul, and I realize how connected with the elements the people here are, and some part of me is very comfortable around that. And there's a very soft quality as regards the energy that people carry in Finland. And I have to acknowledge something about you, Yucca, because of course I've been teaching lots of students and exposed to a lot of Shiatsu practitioners. You have an incredible touch. Your touch in the Shiatsu is one that people can learn a lot from, the way you think. Of course you have different techniques, but the touch that you carry, I have to acknowledge that. It's very special. So, I learn from people here.
Thanks. Thanks, Rex. It's a pleasure.
My pleasure.